Shalom, shalom. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath evening class, and we're going to do a little moment of silence prayer, and then we're going to go into the current events. Okay. Says, oh Lord, we thank you for your great mercy and your great power and wisdom. We tarry waiting for your powerful deliverance of our people, Israel, your people, Israel. Oh Lord, you have given us insight into the scriptures of our forefathers. You, oh Lord, have directed us to. Okay, hold up. All right, Shalom. We come this Sabbath day, doubtless that you will appear and that you will gather your nation from among the wicked Gentiles. Oh Lord, you spoke through your prophet Isaiah and said that you would help Abraham's seed, that you have scattered. You have completed that promise as of this day. You said, oh Lord, that you would remove the darkness from around us, tearing out, oh Lord. The latter days are here upon us. We are waiting and watching for you, O Lord. Peace be on you. Okay. So with that being said, anybody got any current events they want to bring up? Anything they want to talk about the current events? Okay.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I was sharing with you before we went live that I was reading on it was in the Washington Post that eBay is going to be using UPS because of everything happening at the Postal Service. So it won't be halting their services, but they're one of the biggest businesses that uses the Postal Service. So I'm thinking a lot of others are going to follow.
Oh yeah, right. That's based on the government behind that. They didn't want to cause that because it set everybody back. Because I know I had a package, a tire I had ordered, and it's sitting in Lake Charles for almost 2 months. I finally got it the other day, and all this started when they started debating about that postal service and about the mail-in ballots, and Trump started trying to sabotage. So yes. you can blame the White House for that one.
Well, there's a lot of people, because the folks that work from home that work for like Walgreens and CVS, and people be calling about their medication. It's just ridiculous. They warehousing the folks' medication, and the company's got to replenish that. In other words, they got to make good on those people for the prescription drugs.
Right.
So okay, man, it's ridiculous. That kind of stuff right there can cause a country to collapse because we know that the Postal Service is one of the oldest institutions of the country.
Right.
They used to ride horseback. I forgot what they used to call it.
Pony Express.
Yeah, there you go. So you see that dates way back. But for the president to be involved with the chaos, fall, and destruction, that's wicked.
Right, it is. Right, but they see it, they think he's the Messiah. Yeah, I was watching this little video this morning. How is the guy that got the show? It's Supernatural. The white guy, Seth Roth, was talking about how that there's gonna be chaos in November. Everybody predicting it's gonna be mass chaos in November, no matter who wins, because the other side gonna go off no matter what side wins. So they predicting mass chaos, and like you were saying, we already people not understanding what has happened with the coronavirus and all that is that it's like a tsunami. You know, the water get displaced, and then it's maybe a week later, the tsunami hit the ocean, hit the seashore. But it started way out in the middle of the ocean when the water got displaced. And everybody's thinking that's over, but it's a 100-foot tidal wave coming because the water got displaced. And that's what's happening now. We coming up on the side effects of what coronavirus did. All those month and a half or whatever they had, everything shut down, and wasn't nothing moving. And now it's starting to come to haunt us. Companies going under and people filing bankruptcy. You know, the airlines about to go bankrupt. Yeah. So anybody else have anything else? Okay, I'm gonna play this little clip on Dr. Arcana. She's calling for Africa to unite.
We were systematically brainwashed. We were systematically put in the state of mind that we are in. If you look at, let's take it back to Africa, prior to the children of Africa being taken out of Africa as slaves, and even after they were taken out of Africa as slaves, the instructions that the missionaries were given in terms of how to deal with African. Remember, when they came to Africa, they found very resistant people, very well-established religious educational systems, people who were so strong that they didn't know how they could conquer Africa unless they addressed the issues of Africa from the core. So they set out a process of letting us believe that everything to do with Black and African was bad, and everything to do with white was bad, or white and European was bad. We have to understand that the missionaries were given instructions on how to instruct us and how to control our minds. They were told to teach us how to read, but not to reason. It was a systematic process, specific instructions on how to handle a Black person in order to get them where they wanted us to be. They used the same process with the slaves on the plantations, where they began this process of divide and conquer, lighter-skinned people versus darker-skinned people, the straighter your nose versus the flatter your nose, thin lips versus thick lips. It was a process that we have been put through. We have been trained to self-hate. I use the example of religion, and I use an example of myself growing up in Zimbabwe. The British did not come to Zimbabwe until 1896. Prior to their coming, we did not know of white color or Black color. We were Africans. We were Africans. But the missionaries came in and they told us about Christianity. They told us about Jesus Christ. They told us about the angels who were white and the devil who was Black. Then they turn around and say, the angels are desirable. They do the wonderful things. We must aspire to be like them. And they said, oh, by the way, we may not look like this white sheet of paper. Besides, remember, they introduced the color white and the color Black. We didn't have that. So we know how Black looks like. We know how white. Yeah. But they turn around and say, the angels are white and we are white too. Never mind how we look. We may not look like this piece of paper, but believe we are white and we represent the angel. And you're Black. You may not look like this cover of my phone, which is Black, but you represent the devil. The devil is Black, the devil is evil. We all must run away from the devil. You don't want to represent the devil. Oh, by the way, you may not look like this Black piece of paper, but you're Black too. Then now let's go to church. And we kneel down in front of the white angels, in front of white Jesus, who we know very well Jesus Christ was not white. Even their own Bible tells us he had crimson skin. We know for a fact that Mary and Joseph were running away from King Herod. They were told to go to Egypt. Why? Because in Egypt, Jesus Christ would blend with those who look more like him. If he was white, they would have told them to run to Europe. So we have all these obvious lies that we have been told. So for centuries, we have knelt and worshipped white Jesus and white angels and denied that which they told us represented us. So they systematically put us through a process of self-hate. It is not by surprise that we hate ourselves. We don't like each other. We don't trust each other. Understand that this has been a systematic process of criminalizing blackness, of teaching us and training us to hate everything that looks like us, and educating that the more we look closer to what white people do, the better off we are. So we spend the rest of our lives, and the lives of our children, and the lives of generations to come, if we do not do something about it, hating ourselves, teaching our children to hate ourselves. We are a sick people. Let's face it. We need healing. We have been so brainwashed to hate ourselves. We have been so brainwashed to the point that even the obvious lies, we hear them, we know their lies, but we can't get ourselves to unbelieve. I believe in Jesus Christ. What I have problems with is what they have done with the name of Jesus Christ. Abused his name, misrepresented his name. Religion, they have used it as an instrument to brainwash us. I believe in the religion. It is how it is taught to us and presented to us. It is distorted. It is no longer the truth that the Bible speaks of. But we know better. Because when we are lied to, we know it. Why do we find it so difficult to denounce those lies? The lies that Martin Luther King spoke about. We know we do some of the dumbest things. A black man opens a shop in a black neighborhood, and the minute a Chinaman opens a shop next door to them, we black people, we stop patronizing a black man and we run to the Chinaman. It's the case of the white man's ice is colder. How sick.
Okay.
You want to?
We be? How dumb can we be? Even in the face of obvious truths, it's easier for us to believe a white man when they lie to us because the white man said so. The question is, how long will it take us to understand that those are lies that we have been told, that we have been programmed to hate ourselves? Understand your history. That will begin the process of healing. Understand what has been done to you. Understand that you're riding somebody else's train, going in somebody else's direction towards their own destination. Your train is in the next track. It should be going in the opposite direction. That is where your destiny is. Understand that you are the father of humanity. Understand, as a black woman, you are the mother of humanity. You gave birth to the first human being. Understand that before they were, you were. So as the father and mother of humanity, why do you accept the lies? Why do you allow those you gave birth to, those whose sheer existence depends on you, to abuse you? Understand your history. Understand where you have been. Stand on the tallest mountain and let the world know the facts that they themselves have uncovered. They went to Europe, looking for the origins of humanity. They couldn't find it there. They went everywhere around the world looking for the origins of humanity. They couldn't find it until they came to our Africa. So stand on top of the tallest mountain and proclaim to the world who you are. But that starts with your understanding of your history. Let the world know that you're the beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible original person a rich original human being, the African. So yes, it was a long answer, but you needed to hear it from the beginning. It starts, it stays, and it ends with your understanding of your history. Know your history, know where you have been, and understand and accept first and foremost that we are a wounded people and we need healing. And that healing begins with one having a serious conversation with image in the mirror. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Very passionately presented. I will say that if the color coding was intentional, and for that matter, it was also false, why do we continue to call ourselves blacks and call others whites or yellow or whatever? Why don't we just stop using that categorization and simply call ourselves Africans?
You're right.
Yeah.
I speak to that. I speak to that all the time. Again, we're just accepting the blatant lie. My brother, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. I don't blend with my black hair. I don't blend with my black dress. So yes, those are lies. We need to undo them. So maybe there needs to be a movement that needs to start to say we are Africans. And we refuse to be color-coded anymore. Because that color coding, it goes to the core of who we are. Look at that little experiment they did on CNN with Anderson Cooper, with little girls being given white dolls and black dolls. Even black kids at that early age, they preferred the white doll. So it's deep. So yes, we can change it. We can begin by saying we're Africans, no more color, because that is it was used to divide us. It was used to self-hate. So I agree with you. I think there should be a movement to refuse to be called black and be called African. It's up to us to start that movement.
All right, thank you. I'm still going to stay with you on one more point before we are going to have a continuation of our interaction more informally. On the issue of the diaspora, what is the role of the diaspora to Africa's future, and vice versa, Africa's role in the diasporan future?
A very important question. The issue of brain drain goes to the core of who the diaspora are and what the diaspora mean to the continent. So to understand the diaspora and their significance in the history of Africa, to understand the diaspora in the history of us as Africans in the diaspora, you must understand the brain drain. The brain drain out of Africa started over 400 years ago, when the children of Africa were taken out of Africa as slaves. Remember, and I like to let everybody understand, descendants of the formerly enslaved, you are a product of what Africa, the best that Africa had. They took the best and the fittest out of Africa. They took the best that they felt could stand the long journey transatlantic. They took the best that they knew would survive on the plantations. So I want descendants of the formerly enslaved to know that don't you ever let anybody make you feel inferior. You are the cream de la cream of Africa. You are descendants of the cream de la cream of Africa. Stand up tall and let everybody know that. That brain started back then, followed by more recent immigrants who came in search of, who left Africa in search of greener pastures, running away from wars and famine. The end result is the intellectual capacity that Africa needs. Most of it, if not more than half of it, is in the diaspora. The reality is, as we speak, Africa does not have enough intellectual capacity, enough expertise to build the Africa that we want. It is precisely because of that reason that the heads of states are looking to the Chinese, the Europeans, and anybody else that wants to come to Africa, because we are in the diaspora. To bring things home, you take, for example, people talk about healthcare in Africa. There are more Ghanaian doctors in New York City than in the entire country of Ghana. How then do we improve healthcare in Ghana if the doctors are not there. President Nana Addo, he thought by building new hospitals and renovating new ones, that was how he was going to improve healthcare. To his surprise, half of those hospitals are sitting empty, not because there are no patients, but because there are no doctors. The same is true in every African country. The same is true in every sector, engineering, education. The diaspora are needed in order for us to build the Africa that we want. Allow me to point out and highlight that in this particular moment, this year, as we go into 2021, the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area is going to begin. What is the African Continental Free Trade Area? It is a decision that was agreed upon by the African heads of state in 2018. It is a decision that has begun the process of finishing the unfinished business, which was started by our Pan-African fathers when they met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 1963, when they ended up with a compromise decision, which they called the Organization of African Unity. The whole purpose of that mission of the meeting was to undo the damage that was done by the Berlin Conference. But unfortunately, they were not able to reach a consensus. Africa was intentionally divided into the tiny little countries that we are today for the purposes of disrupting economic development. If countries cannot trade with each other as neighbors, you cannot grow your economies. So yes, the Berlin Conference was about disrupting economic development. Finally, the African Continental Free Trade Area is getting ready to remove the boundaries that have kept the African countries from trading with each other. What does that mean? That means now you can register your company in one country and spread like wildfire throughout the continent. That means the Chinese realizing that it's now easier to do business in Africa. They're getting ready to quadruple their presence in an Africa that is easy to do business. The Europeans, they're getting ready to quadruple their presence in Africa. The exploitation is getting ready to be of Africa is getting ready to be taken to another level by those who have exploited us. Here is the reality, my brothers and sisters. It is important that every diaspora understands the African Continental Free Trade Area. Google it, understand it. The reality is there is a void in Africa. It is a void that is to be filled by the African diaspora if we are going to build the Africa that we want. Remember, the Europeans for centuries have built the Africa that they want, the Africa that benefited them to our detriment. This void is there. It is waiting for us to fill it. It's waiting for us to be on the driver's seat. Because beginning next year, we're going to be talking about a continental development agenda for Africa. No more shall we talk about how much wheat does Nigeria need, but rather how much wheat do 1.27 billion people in Africa need? How do we build the Cape to Cairo highway? How do we build the Senegal to Djibouti highway and everything in between? We are talking about developing a continent. We're talking about meeting the needs of 1.27 billion people in a collective way. Here is where we are going to fall short. While the others are ready to jump in and take over your Africa, your inheritance, the diaspora don't even know about the African Continental Free Trade Area, let alone even think about organizing in order to take over what belongs to you. So the role of the diaspora is to understand what is going on in Africa, to understand that this is now an opportunity for Black people to build generational wealth, to earn and build economic liberation, an opportunity that has been denied to all Black people on the continent and outside the continent. The African Continental Free Trade Area is an opportunity for the diaspora to unite and to go home and fill that void that has your name. Take over that seat that has your name. If we do not come together as the diaspora private sector and unite with the diaspora, with the private sector on the continent, Africa is going to be taken over. This time, for good. But
okay. Anybody got any comments on that? What they think about that? No comments? Okay. I was listening to that, and what I derive from it is, what I derive from that is that America, everything she was talking about right there, it's a responsibility of America, because what's going to happen is if they don't get us over there and do what they have to do to hold on 1 minute. Okay, it says not feeling good about this appeal unless the sellers or buyers compensate or pay reparations is too empty of substance and building some else statue. So what the thing is that I was saying was that this is really on America, the American people, really the European people, because if they don't step in, and just like what Wesley is saying, if they don't step in and pay reparations, that's the only thing gonna get us over there. So they're gonna have to step in and pay reparations, because they don't have no other choice. Because if they don't act on this, China already overcame America with might and power and all that. So if they allow them to get a stronghold in Africa and allow Russia to get a stronghold in Africa, they doomed. So they have really they in a bind. They're gonna have to do something pertaining to us and getting us over there. It's a last ditch effort. They got to. So like I was saying before, you looking at, I'm looking anytime between now and first of the year, it's gonna be, they gotta do something, because if they allow they don't start make some kind of deal with us to get us over there before this free trade thing or kick off, they do. So it's got to be something that's got to happen, or going to happen between now and then. It's when you look at it, there's no other route. They got to do something. It's not even really our responsibility. They gonna be in a bind. They already America already waning, and this coronavirus is really been crippled. So they have no other choice but to come up with some kind of deal pertaining to the African Americans soon. They got to do something. Yeah. Any comment?
Okay. Yeah, I want to say that, like you said many times, and we've heard a few other scholars expound on the fact that economically, the diaspora are a powerhouse,
Right.
and there would be a surefire powerhouse in Africa, because look how much spending we do here.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the businesses, especially in the communities, across America, wouldn't be able to survive if it wasn't for us spending our dollars in their establishment. So
Right.
how much power? See, so I see what she mean by cream deli cream, because how much power if we would just strategize and plan that we're not going to spend our money with them others when we get over there. We ourselves would benefit from that, as well as those on the continent who too have gone over and tried to establish businesses and to kick off their way of life while living there. So I think it speaks volumes, just ourselves, who we are. But again, we need to strategize and plan. And I've heard someone else say in one of the videos today that reparation is needed for us to make that move.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. You can look right when you look at it, the big picture. like I said, it's coming because they don't have no other choice. They don't. China gonna, really gonna stretch out on them, and they're gonna be doomed. So it's on them. It's their responsibility to do that because they created this problem. Didn't really realize it, but when they came over there and displaced us from the beginning, they didn't understand that it was gonna catch up with them. And that very act they did with the transatlantic slave trade is a crutch now. So they doomed. So like I was saying, you can believe me, they behind the scenes they working out something as we speak. Because they got to do this before, like I said, before the trade agreement opens up and open Africa up. They have to. And China already breaking records as far as imports, exports, and all that. So they right there where Africa at. So imagine what they import and exports and the amount of money that they're going to be generating once Africa get opened up. Yeah. Okay. It says we built this one and they want us to build Africa. We have the skills and tools to get it done. Pay us, right? That makes all the sense in the world. We saw how we got tricked over in Africa the first time when we was dealing with the Pharaoh. We was reading that this morning, but now it's time for us to get paid. And like I said, it's our time. If anybody paying attention, it's our time. It's just a matter of this thing unfolding and the Most High doing what he do. Yeah. So anybody else got any comments on that? Yeah. So what I want to do was I wanted to read this. Isaiah 30 and 27 to 33, because it's like a need to know thing. So I'm gonna read it. It's Isaiah 30, reading 27 through 33. It's about our let me see. It's about the prophecy about Assyria. It was foretold that he was going to judge Assyria. You know how the Most High would bring a nation of people to come and chastise us, but then after they chastise us, he comes to deliver us, and then he punished that nation. So this is the same thing right here. He brought Assyria and got the 10 tribes, and then after the 10 tribes was punished, he turned around and punished them. So it says, Isaiah says in Isaiah 30 and 27, behold, the name of the Lord cometh from afar, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue as a devouring fire, and his breath as an overflowing stream shall reach to the midst of the neck, and sift the nations with the sieve of vanity, and there shall be a bridle in his jaws of the people, causing them to err. Ye shall have a song as in the night, when the holy solemnity is kept, and the gladness of heart, as when one goes with a pipe to come into the mountains of the Lord, to the mighty one of Israel. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shall show the lightning down of his arm, and the indignation of his anger, and with a flame of a devouring fire, the scattering in a tempest and hailstones. For through the voice of the Lord shall the Assyrian be beaten down, which is smart with a rod. And in every place where the ground staff shall pass, which the Lord shall lay upon him, it shall be with tabrets and harps. And in battle of shaking will he fight with it. For the Tophet is ordained of old, yea, the king is prepared For the king is it prepared. He hath made it deep and large. The power thereof is fire and much wood, and the breath of the Lord, like a stream of brimstone, doeth kindle it. So I had read that, and I saw that word Tophet. That's in verse 33, Isaiah 30 and 33, and it's spelled Tophet. And so I googled it, and this is the meaning of it. It says Tophet means, yeah, and it's something to think about. It's some of the synonyms of Tophet is the neither world, the land or abode of the dead. It's inferno region, the neither region, the abyss, the abode of the downed eternal damnation, the damned and eternal damnation, the eternal punishment, perdition, hellfire, fire and brimstone, Gehenna, Abaddon, Sheol, Hades, Tartarus, Abyss, and Nephilim, the pit, and the shades, and the lower world. And that word Nephilim is Niflheim, and it's the underworld of eternal cold, darkness, and mist, inhabited by those who died of old age or illness. So, I was thinking that was kind of that was kind of interesting because so many people don't deal with the fact that it's a neither world, and so I was when I looked at that, I was like, first thing I thought about was shalom. First thing I thought about was if you go back to vampires and go back to Count Dracula. Well, one of his things was he had the ability to turn into a mist. And he can cut. And then where they showed the way he dwelled it was in Transylvania, and then the area was cold, and it was always dreary and cold and a mist, And so here we see right here in the scriptures, in the very scriptures, the Most High is mentioned in that. It's being mentioned. So they was there's so many things that they was dealing with that we're not dealing with. The understanding and our encounters with all that has been taken away until when the Most High come back. But that, like I was saying before, and you also look at what the Egyptians dealt with when they started talking about Thorpe and I can't think of the name of the god of the underworld, and even Osiris was god of the underworld. He's Lord of the eternal black. So all that stuff is, it seems like it's mythical, but you're starting to find out. Shalom. You're starting to find out that it's actually it's got some relevance to all this stuff. It's just a matter of doing your research and doing your due diligence and dealing with it. Yeah. Any comments?
Back in reference to what we were talking about, wouldn't that take the African government or the heads that be there to also assist with our getting there and or I would say success in the endeavors that I mean, because they need us. Okay, so I would think that their contributing would be a plus. Another thing, the guy that did uh, make Africa great, I heard him say today, and apparently this speech was 2 weeks ago, so you all may have heard it, where he's saying that they're talking to the governments in Africa now about all the diaspora need, because we're not responsible for how we got here, and everybody knows how we got here. The only thing we need is skin and our melanin to get there. In other words, you don't need a passport. He said that that's the European way of, or European system. That's not our system. So they're trying to make, I guess, some power moves now so that we don't need a passport to get back to Africa.
Right. Well, so like I was saying before, I had made a comparison to this before. You have what when you look at it, like the way you looking at it, and anybody else that is civilized, they would look at it like that. But these people wicked as hell, and you have to go back and look at our past. Look what we did. People don't know that we had actually overcame them in that little short period of time when we had all these banks. And it was a whole bunch of Black Wall Streets all over America. They know that. Even Chicago and all that was, because what's going to happen is the Black people going to hear about a certain place that's thriving, and they all going there. Well, with them understanding that, knowing our capabilities, they trying to guide it. And so my example of that is when you go in the jungle. And you go up in there in the deepest part of the jungle, messing with those silverbacks, gorillas. You gotta go in there. If you're gonna shoot him with a dart, you got to shoot him with a dart. Wherever you're gonna take him, you need to take him there before he wake up. And that's how they handling us. They know when you look at what she's saying, the money that's gonna be generated because of all these countries able to trade with each other. They can't put the Black people to just stick them there and then let all that flourish, because overnight they'll be in the doghouse. So they trying to, it's like a controlled demo. They trying to do everything in a way where we won't blow up so fast. They gonna be in the people that's behind all this. When you understand what's going on, is these bankers, and they super slick. So these bankers negotiating all this, trying to keep everything on the same way they do with interest rates. They're trying to keep everything controlled, and where the flow of the money, the mass majority of the money and the currency gonna be flowing toward them. That's why everything they got everything smooth. They got muffles on everything. They're not just gonna open it up like somebody that's civilized would, because they got all kind of reasons for not to doing it, opening it up like that, because they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose. Because if we ever get, it's never been a question about our capabilities and our talent. It's about us having resources. So they gotta make sure they go slow with that as far as giving us resources. And that's what you see. That's what you see them doing right now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Yeah. So, like I was saying before, that it's going to happen, but it's like I said, it's like grabbing a hold to a hot skillet, because they're gonna get burned because of what's going on now is prophecy. They trying to negate it, but they can't negate it. Like the Lord of hosts said, who can take Israel out of his hands? Unless he want Israel to go, then they're gonna go. But can't nobody take Israel out of his hands. Can't nobody stop him from doing what he want to do for his people. So it ain't no but a matter of time. Yeah, so I'm gonna shine a light on something, then I'm gonna close out. I was showing you how when you do a comparison and contrast with what they did with the Old Testament and what they did with the New Testament, they just pulling stuff from the Old Testament and they putting it over the New Testament to make it legitimate. So everybody know about the Antichrist supposed to be coming, and they talk about this 7-year treaty that he's supposed to make You know, how you gonna figure out one of the characteristics of when he on the scene is one of the signs is that he's gonna make a 7-year agreement with the so-called Jews. They think that the people over in Israel now is the real Israelites, so they look into all the Christendom and Catholic Church and all these people looking for Pentecostals, looking for some man to come on the scene that's gonna make a 7-year treaty with Israel, and that's how they're gonna find out who the Antichrist is. But I've told you on several occasions who the Antichrist already came in his Antioch Epiphanes. But I want to show you something else in there. I got it today. I was conversating with somebody and it hit me like a sack of rocks. It's in I'm in the Apocrypha in First Maccabees, and I was reading how that it was. I showed you how it was in Daniel that you got every time the prophet he gets a vision. The Most High sent a vision by the angel. He get the vision, then the prophet waits for the angel to come give him interpretation. Once he get the interpretation, then you have to wait for it to come to pass. Well, the story of the Antioch Epiphanes and Alexander and the Greeks, the third beast, is not in the scriptures because of Daniel in chapter 8 received the dream 1 through chapter 8 1 through 15, then 16 through 25 he got the interpretation from Gabriel, but it didn't come to pass. They took that out, so it came to pass in the Apocryphal books. And so I'm gonna read some of it. It says it came to pass right here that Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, who came from the land of Chechen, had utterly defeated Darius, the king of the Medes and Persians, right? That he reigned in his stead, and he had before reigned over Greece. And he waged many wars and captured fortresses and slaughtered the kings of the earth. And he made his way to the ends of the earth and despoiled a multitude of nations. The whole earth was silenced before him, and he became exalted, and his heart was uplifted. He mustered a very mighty army and ruled over the lands of rulers and of heathens, and they paid him tribute. Afterwards, he fell sick and knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him and divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. And Alexander had reigned 12 years when he died. So that was prophesied in Daniel chapter 8 that Alexander was going to come. He was prophesied he was going to get sick, and then the Greek kingdom was going to get divided up into 4. It was also prophesied that a king of fierce countenance was going to come at the latter end of the Greek kingdom, which is Antioch Epiphanes. And so I want to show you right here the treaty that he made. He made a 7-year treaty with the Israelites back then, not in the future. So it says right here in verse in First Maccabees, it says that it says in those days there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many, saying, this during time of Antioch Epiphanes, let us go and make a treaty with the heathen round about us. For ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. And so the plan, this is the treaty. The plan seemed good in their eyes. And some of the people went eagerly to the king, and he authorized them to introduce practices of the heathen. And they built the gymnasium in Jerusalem in the heathen fashion and submitted to uncircumcision and disowned the holy agreement. And they allied themselves with the heathen and became slaves to wrongdoing. So they made this treaty with him. And so when you understand that it talks about in Revelation 42 months, that's 3.5 years. So they saying that this Antichrist is gonna come at the end, and he's gonna make a treaty with Israel. It's gonna be peace. He's gonna get along with them the first 3.5 years. The second 3.5 years, he's gonna turn on him. So let's go to Daniel chapter. I'm gonna show you something. Daniel chapter 12. So they sometimes they'll say 42 months. Sometimes they'll say 3.5 years. Sometimes they'll say time and a half time. All of it means 3.5 years. So I'm gonna show you in Daniel what it's saying in Daniel. And then they'll have sometime they'll have 1,000 290 days. Same thing. So it says right here. Daniel chapter 12. Let me show you this right here, and I'm gonna close out. So it says in Daniel chapter 12. I'm gonna start at verse 7, 12 and 7. And I heard a man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand under heaven, swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half time. There you go. That's 3.5 years, right? So, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. Many shall be purified, made white, tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Now, here we go. 11. And from the time of the daily sacrifice shall be taken away the abomination that maketh desert set up. There shall be 1,290 days. That's 3.5 years. We just read over there, Antioch Epiphanes made a treaty with the Israelites when he came, and then the first 3.5 years, everything was good. And then at 3.5 years, Antioch Epiphanes got in his mind to go and rule in Egypt. So he went and seized Egypt. And then at the end of that 3.5 years, he came back. That's when he attacked Israel. So we're going to see right here. I'm going to show you this. It was right here in our sight, in front of our face, but we didn't understand it. Verse 11 says, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. So that's when he first got there. That's 3.5 years, right? 12. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to 1,345 and 30 days. That's the other that's the other 3.5 years. That's your 7-year treaty right there. In Daniel 11 and 12. Then the only reason that it's got 1,335 years in chapter 12 is because of 45 days is added to it. Add 45 days to 300, 200. I mean, add 35 days, 45 days to 1,290. You get 3,000. You get 3,035. So that 35, those 35 days is the time between he caused the abomination to make a desert, then he set up the abomination. He tore the temple and all that down, then he set the abomination to make a desert. He put hogs on the pole. Let me read that. Then I'm gonna close. I'm gonna get some Q&A and then we close out. So now I'm back over in First Maccabees, and it says, this is chapter 1 of First Maccabees, and it's I'm starting at verse 30. And her exaltation was turned into grief. Then the king wrote to his whole kingdom. It's the king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences in Daniel chapter 8. It says the king wrote to his whole kingdom that they should all be one people, and everyone should give up his particular practices. And all the heathens ascended to the commands of the king, and many from Israel agreed to his kind of worship and offer sacrifices to idols and broke the Sabbath. And the king sent word by messenger to Jerusalem and to the towns of Judah to follow practices foreign to the country and put a stop to whole burnt offerings that we've been reading about in Leviticus for the last 3 or 4 months. Whole burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings at the sanctuary, and break the Sabbath and profane the feast and pollute the sanctuary and that was sanctified. So the abomination of making desolate means to pollute the sanctuary. So how did he do it? To build altars and sacred precincts and idol temples and sacrificed hogs. See, we know that they were sacrificing rams, lambs, and goats on the altar. So we know that the hog is unclean. So they said, so they sacrificed hogs, unclean cattle, and to leave their sons uncircumcised and defile themselves with every unclean and profane practice, so that they might forget the law, change all their religious ordinances, and everyone did not obey the command of the king should die. So we see right here the treaty right there, Daniel chapter 11, chapter 12, verses 11 and 12. It's 3.5 years in verse 11 and 3.5 years in verse 12. That's just 7-year treaty. It already happened. Yeah. So that, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and that just jumped off the page. It's like, wow, that's crazy. So any comments before we go close out? Okay, now hold up, I got a question down there. Let me see what's up with it. It says, I have a question. Did most of the stolen Africans get sold in Brazil? Is any of Judah in Brazil, and are the Brazilians going back to Ghana? Yeah, they have. They got you know, over the years they've been dealing with this reparations packet, and they've came together where you have a group of people that's dealing with reparations over in Haiti or the Caribbean. They call it the Caribbeans, and then you have people dealing with the group that's dealing with reparations in Britain. And then you have a group of people that come together that's dealing with the reparations in America. What has happened? They all came together. And that's one of the reasons why I know it's going to happen, because they're all unified under one cause, and so that's what's getting ready to happen. So when we leave Brazil and the people in Great Britain, which they are already leaving now, they're already leaving from these areas now, going back to Africa. But the mass exodus is getting ready to happen whenever they figure out this reparations on what they're going to do. All right, so people from that was the original place when in 1619 they started bringing people to Brazil. They had those sugar cane plantations and all that on Brazil long before they came to America. And once they got America to going, they started bringing slaves from Brazil to America. So that's how that worked. But and I'm quite sure it's you know, Judeans that was, you know, mixed up in there with the Brazilians over in Brazil when they brought us here. You know, I know that the Haitians are the Levites, the majority of them, because I mean, you know, they couldn't have brought all of them to one area and all of them to another area, but the majority of the people in Haiti is Levites, and the majority of the people in America is Judeans. And then you got the Cameroons and part of Brazil and all that. Those are Benjamites, tribe of Benjamin. Yeah. So I'm hoping that answers your question. Okay. Anybody else got anything else before we go? Any questions or anything from this morning or the week? Okay. With that being said, I'm gonna see everybody on Monday at 6 o'clock. I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. Okay.
Shalom.
All right.